This video will take you through a generic Phase 3 to 6 lesson. Please note there may be some variations between lessons, for example during recap weeks or weeks where the children will be learning tricky words. So we start every lesson off by saying, what did we learn before? And we recap the previously learnt GPC, in this case it was OI, and briefly go over some of the deeper understanding points. Next, we take a look at the GPCs that we have learned in this phase so far. Now, this is a Phase 5 lesson, so we are revisiting the Phase 5 GPCs that we have learned. If you feel like it would be beneficial for your class, you absolutely can incorporate the Phase 3 GPCs. You're the teacher, you know your class and what they need. For some of the GPCs, I'm briefly going over the vocal action, as I know that these ones are the ones that a couple of children in my class needed to solidify in their memory, and the vocal actions really help with this. Now we are on to the teach section, and we start off this section by saying, what are we learning today? The children can join in with the statement. You'll find that they start to anyway, but these statements at the beginning of each section are really helpful to maintain the children's engagement and so that they know what they are about to do next. When you come to the GPC of the day, this is where you will need to take a look at the planning. There is a small purple star on the bottom right of the screen. And when you get to a slide that has this purple star, that's when you need to just check the planning. So looking at the planning, you can see there are some deeper understanding points to guide you through the discussion around the sound. Now, this discussion is crucial because it will help children make connections and ultimately deepen their understanding and memory. As this is a Phase 5 GPC, which is where we mainly learn alternative graphemes for known phonemes, you will also have this slide with previously taught graphemes to briefly go back and revisit that and build on the children's pre-existing knowledge. You will now come across the slide with a picture which corresponds to the vocal action, and you can check how to perform this vocal action by scanning the QR code before you start your lesson. Now, if we go to the next slide, you've got a word to model reading to the children. This is still the teach section of the planning, and the words that are coming up on the slides are also in the planning, so you know what's coming up. This gives you a chance to model reading words with the GPC of the day. So you should read it first, modelling, good segmenting and blending, pointing out the sound that you're learning today. Then ask the children to repeat, then repeat all together again. Repetition is so important in phonics, so keep repeating, but try and keep it nice and pacey at the same time. There are 3 words altogether to read in this part of the teach section. In Phase 3, all of the dots and dashes are already on the screen, as children may still be developing this skill of segmenting and blending to read words. If you want to draw the dots and dashes as you read, that's absolutely fine as well. Some children may still benefit from this. It's also a good idea to encourage children to point at the sounds as they're reading as well. Now we move on to the practice section, and it's the practice read section, and you'll see these blank lines which might throw you initially, but just check the planning and look in the read section. You will see the 6 words that the children need to read, and those are the words that you'll write on the board for them. One of them is an alien word and one of them is a challenge word. That's the one with the asterisk. Now slowly take some time to write the words on the board, and as you are writing, the children can quietly and independently start reading at their own pace. It is important that children are given sufficient time to read. Now you can take some time to observe and assess. Once you've finished writing the words, you can go around and listen to specific children. Once they have all finished, or at least mostly finished, either you can choose a child to segment and blend a word of their choice, or you can ask for a volunteer. It depends on what you need for your formative assessment. As the child is reading, you can draw the dots and dashes if they're segmenting and blending, if that would be beneficial to your class. And again, you really want to get as much repetition in as possible. So once they have read the word, then ask the whole class to sound out the word and read together. Then ask the children to say it once more without sounding out. And repeat this process for all of the words, and then go through them once more without sounding out. So lots of repetition again, but keeping up the pace at the same time. Now we say, now it's time to spell a word. So we are still on our practice section, but we are on the spell part of the practice section. And you're not going to be using the lines right away. So first of all, say the word for the children to spell and sound out together. You can do this a couple of times. Then the children can start writing independently, and you can take the time to go around and assess. Once you get a sense that all the children have finished, you are now going to spell the word on the board for children to self-assess. You can ask them for their help and what sound am I going to write next, etc. And you can also take this opportunity to address misconceptions here that you spotted when walking around the classroom. Then again, for the sake of repetition, read the word that you've just written again with the class, and use the dots and dashes if necessary, and repeat for the next word. Now we are moving on to the apply section and we say, now it's time for the surprise sentence. So here you show the sentence, and again, make sure you give sufficient time for the children to read quietly to themselves. These are true or false sentences, which helps the children practice reading for meaning, as well as adding a bit of fun to the lesson. So then ask the children, is the sentence true or false? And then you're going to read it through all together as a class. Let the children guide you as you go through the sentence and draw the dots and dashes underneath. Go nice and slowly, and once you've read it through together as a class, then just do it one more time, but this time without any segmenting or blending, just reading with fluency. And finally, ask children to identify the words that contain the GPC of today's lesson. Then on the next slide, you've got a little picture to go with the sentence, which adds a bit of fun and gives a little bit of a brain break. Then repeat this process for the next sentence. Now we are at the final part of the lesson, which is applying, and it's applying to write. So you've got those blank lines again, but just ignore them for now. You will use them once the children have finished writing their sentence. So you'll tell them the sentence that is in the planning and ask them to repeat it a number of times, sound out the words in your head, etc. And they can then begin writing, and you can observe and assess. So they're going to be writing quietly and independently in their writing books or on their whiteboards, whatever you used in your school. Children who finish quickly could add a conjunction to their sentence to make it longer, or they could make up their own sentence with a word that contains the GPC from the that they've been learning today. And once you've sensed that everyone has mostly finished, you can then ask children to help you write the sentence on the board so that children get that opportunity again to self-assess. So when you're writing the sentence, you'll model sounding out words before you write, you'll model forming your letters correctly, and also take this opportunity to address misconceptions that you may have noticed when walking around. And for the sake of repetition again, reread the sentence through as a class and identify the word or words that contain the focus GPC. And we end our lesson by saying, what did we learn today? And revisit the GPC, recap the deeper understanding points, and then go to attach either the large or the small display card to your working wall. So the key takeaways for a LearnPhonics lesson are deeper understanding. Beginning with that discussion of the deeper understanding points related to the GPC is crucial, as it provides children with memorable clues to help them remember the sound while also enabling them to build new connections and deepen their understanding. Repetition. Repetition will help the children to retain their new learning and continuously practice their skills throughout the lesson. Engagement. Keeping children engaged and enabling them to be active participants in the lesson will ensure their focus, concentration, and that they'll be constantly using and applying their learning throughout the session. Pace. Maintaining a steady pace throughout the lesson is crucial to engagement. With a lot to cover, it's important to keep the momentum going and avoid any dips in energy. Modelling. Always modelling good reading skills is highly important for early readers. This includes proper pronunciation of sounds, effective segmenting and blending, and demonstrating good reading habits such as pointing to sounds and words as you read.